first time, period, and perhaps even indulging in a melted-in-the-middle chocolate pudding. It caused his mouth to moisten, and he lost another 3 seconds. The tracking beacon halted at a street that Jules scouted 2 days ago, an alleyway housing a fried chicken takeout place and a bookmaker, plus a low-end knockoff designer boutique. From his rooftop perch, he couldn't quite see beyond the shadows at the back end of the narrow passage, so he sidestepped to the foot-wide slab running along the bookmaker's angled roof. Lying flat, his weight crunched down the snow and melted it into a freezing slush. He peeked over using a rifle scope. A 2-year-old Range Rover, black of course, idled in the chill night. Do these guys ever drive anything else? Most tourists were now indoors, even the drunks. Those snug within the 4x4 seemed in no hurry to leave, as if assessing their position, as if scanning for a tail. People like these rarely looked up. If they did, they might spot Jules, contrasted heavily against the snow, but he was just another vague shape atop a roof in a world of CCTV cameras, covert surveillance teams, and drones. No way they would be looking for him 4 stories above their heads. The passenger door opened, and out stepped a buff Caucasian dude with blonde hair and a neat, trimmed beard. A dark suit, no tie. His breath misted as he scouted the scene, pretending to check his watch. The gun under his armpit flashed for less than a second, but Jules recognized the butt of a Sig Sauer P229. When the guy walked, he favored his right foot by a ratio of less than an inch, indicating a backup piece on the ankle. Barely noticeable, but it was there. This was no amateur. The man nodded to the Range Rover. Wearing an emerald green trench coat, a slender woman with shiny copper hair climbed out carrying a metallic briefcase. Head down, age indeterminable. Jules assumed she was Lori, whose name he'd picked up during low-tech surveillance of potential antiquities middlemen. Red hair, emerald green coat. That's a bold look. It was a shame Jules was about to ruin her day. He lowered his scope and returned it to his pack. As the Range Rover departed, the woman marched into the alleyway. The blonde man closed in 4 feet behind her while her free hand remained in her pocket. From his backpack, Jules removed an extendable baton, currently retraced into a 12-inch tube, and a 3-prong grappling hook attached to a bungee cord. He slipped the baton into his belt loop next to 3 throwing knives, opposite half a dozen dime-sized smoke bombs, ninja-type equipment that made his 14-year-old self squeal with delight. His 23-year-old current self concentrated on the serious business of now. And there was no squealing, of delight or otherwise. After stashing his pack, Jules wedged the grappling hook between 2 steel rails atop the fire escape, fed out the correct amount of elasticated rope for the height, wound the slack around his hand, and noiselessly positioned himself above the alley, calculating his target's pace. Again, in years past, he'd have spent seconds writing the sums and probability factors in the air, scrawling equations in 2 columns, one for those under observation, the other for his own approach. It was no longer necessary, his brain now fine-tuned to the speed of any calculator. Without a need for fingers, it was faster. Could this be the last time? Might he soon be able to disregard this level of learning? Allow some knowledge, some skill burned into his mind to slip? To be replaced with those insignificant skills he observed in everyday people? Like small talk, like enjoying food solely for the taste, not sustenance alone. He was so close. As soon as the red-haired woman passed under him, with the bodyguard maintaining his 4-foot distance, Jules dropped. Once more, his 14-year-old self called from the past to highlight how thrilling this should be. But all that entered modern Jules' mind was how the cord should slow his descent from 1.25 seconds to a full 3, depositing him approximately 4 feet behind the man carrying the SIG. Within 1 second, he was plummeting at 10 meters per second. Half a second later, the bungee cord pulled tight around his hand, slowing him to 5. And as he neared the ground, it continued to drag his speed back in fractional increments until he halted smoothly, touching down with only the tiniest scuff, closer to 3 feet from the target than his intended 4. It was enough to alert the bodyguard. The SIG appeared in the man's hand as he spun in one expert motion.